Hey Dynamite fans, this Wednesday, August 7th, only at your local comic book store, we have 3 great titles out this week. Starting with Thundercats Chitara #2 by Sue Lee and Domenica Carbone. With covers by Sue Lee, we've got Ted Brandt and Rose Stein, lyrics, Rebecca Puebla, Edmund Gallman, and 2 by Ken Hazer. We also have Space Ghost #4 out by David Propose and Jonathan Lau, with covers by Francesco Mattina, Jaylene Jun Chung, Bjorn Behrens, Michael Cho, and Bob Layton. Finally, we have Vampirella Dark Reflections #3 by Tom Snigowski, Janine Aitchison, and Daniel Main, with covers from Lucio Purillo, Joseph Michael Linsner, Ergen Gundas, Jay Anacleto, and cosplay Joni Brosis. Again, that is this Wednesday, August 7th, only at your local comic book store at Dynamite.com.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pop Culture Philosophers. I am your host for tonight's festivities, Rockin Robbie Billups, and tonight is the award-winning monthly comic book review show. That's right, me and an esteemed panel of comic book YouTube enthusiasts and just great, fantastic people. Some of the best comic book reviewers on YouTube are going to be here tonight with me talking about our favorite comic books of July 2024. And we got to have the man himself. It's Nick from Comic Culture. What is up, dude?
What's up, man? How you doing, man? Thanks for having me on again.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for having better production quality than Dynamite Entertainment. Speaking of Dynamite, this dude is Dynamite every time he shows up. It's Eric from 9 Panel Grid.
Ladies and gentlemen, how y'all doing?
What's up, man?
Doing great. I didn't get the purple memo.
We tried backstage, man.
Yeah.
Next month.
Y'all are in the same room, aren't you?
Yeah, he's right there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Speaking of purple rooms, this guy is not in a purple room, but he couldn't have the show without him tonight. It's Bearded Comic Bro.
I feel like I need some purple now. Hold on. Here we go. I'll put my Phantom up right here.
There you go.
Oh, I thought you had the purple
Nice.
gloves for sure.
Are we bringing the purple gloves back already?
The purple gloves never go away. Come on.
You're right.
That's right.
Were you pissed that Absolute Batman's not wearing purple gloves?
I mean, it was a good book, but it wanted to be a great book. It should have had purple gloves.
All right. Well, this is the show, everybody, where we gather. We talk about our favorite books of the month previous. Thank you for being here on a special Friday night edition. We are part of a double header tonight. Right after the show, we got Blame Fable and his amazing friends. They're going to be going over the San Diego Comic-Con news, including the controversial casting of Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom. I will be there for that because I got to set all these fools straight if they disagree with me. All right, that's what we're going to do. But stay tuned after the show for Blame Fable tonight. So,
yeah,
best comics of the month. It was an all right month. It's okay. It was okay. There were some great books that are some of the best out there, but I think overall it was just an okay month as far as the quantity of it, like the ratio. Anyway, Nick, why don't you kick us off with your pick of the month?
Well, this is not going to come to a surprise, I don't think. I'm going with Precious Metals, issue number 2, Darcy Van Polgeest, and we have Ian Bertram and Matt Hollingsworth on here. Aside from everything we said about like the art and everything else, this story, I'm becoming like obsessed with the story that he's trying to tell here. We're learning a lot more about Sarge in this issue, about his past relationships with his wife, with Naomi, and they have a child. Did he leave them? Did he not? That's where we're kind of headed right now. There's all these regrets. She's being raised in secret right now in a way. She doesn't know her father. I love that whole thing right there. There's a tragedy at the end that we explore with all those characters that I just can't wait to see, like his like revenge mission because of that tragedy at the end. He was so reliant. He had all this regret and remorse about the decisions he made in the past. And he's trying to find some closure and bring her back into his life. And like this tragedy is going to be something that we're going to really explore, I think, in the upcoming issues. I love the Disciples of the 12 and their little bait and switch with like this child that they found that has this mystical power that we're still trying to unpack. I just love everything about it. The supporting characters are great. The dream states are great. That's just the story itself. And the art is absolutely incredible with this thing. We've talked about it last month. Somehow they were able to do a better job in this volume than the first volume, which seemed like an impossible task, but they're nailing it with this. The colors are outstanding. The letterer switch to Hassan, I mean, like, that's insane as well. That the best letterer, Eisner Award winner.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we even said it on the Austin Comics channel as well. He was at least nominated and/or won. Incredible stuff. So, 2 issues in, I'm throwing around book of the year things in my head. You know what I mean? We're only 2 issues in. That 3rd issue is special when it comes to comics. I can't wait to see what we're going to unveil in that 3rd issue. And dude, I'm all about it. It's one of the only books that I read issue number 2. I immediately went back and read issue number 1 and then flipped through volume 1 again, because I just couldn't wait to like piece all this together and try to figure out if there's something to piece together yet. And there's a few different things you can probably extrapolate. Loving the series so far. Issue number 2 of Precious Metal. Definitely my pick of the month.
That would have been my pick of the month as well. I love it so much. And I actually just reread 1 and 2 before we got here on the stream, just to have it fresh in my mind. The book is great. It's dense. It's complex. It's filled with amazing concepts that are not what the book is about. The book is not about this crazy world that all this is taking place in. This book is not about the rise of this theocratic kind of state and how that is with like kind of juxtapositioning with all the weird technology. It's not about that. It's about this dude trying to remember who he is, right? It's about this dude on a mission who's trying to, and by trying to find out who he used to be, finding out who he is today, right? Can he fix things? Can he make things right? And they're giving us that information slowly and they're trickling it in. But Darcy's doing such a fantastic job of just the writing, the dialogue, the pacing, making it feel like even if you don't quite comprehend every single thing that's going on, he does a great job of tying it all together and making you feel like you're in there for the ride, right? It's also action-packed. Like, it's crazy action that's in here too. And I remember that in Little Bird, but not quite this way. This one feels more like a chase film in a way, right? I absolutely love it. And Bertram's artwork. I mean, well, I don't even.
That's it.
I mean, there you go. I mean, just this. It's freaking amazing. And yeah, Haas finally, the Eisners did something right and gave him an Eisner, so that's cool. Matt Hollingsworth doing a fantastic job with the coloring, as he usually does. Just such a solid book that it needs to be on the lips of more people, right? Like, people need to be talking more about this. This needs to be one of the hyper books out there. It ain't about, I know we all get all like obsessed with things like the Energon universe and the Ultimate books and stuff like that. This is levels above that. This is actually like intricate storytelling done. No other medium could have done this, right? Not even, I think, animation could really kind of nail this. This is such a pitch perfect book. Eric, what do you think about Precious Metal?
I love it. It's like, honestly, like one of my favorite books month over month over month. And it's so crazy to me that they took this ancillary character from Little Bird, right? I mean, I didn't even remember how small a role he played in Little Bird until I reread it after issue number 1, and it just blew my mind. But like, yeah, this issue in particular was just like, it was fantastic. I love the back and forth between the decisions that he made previously in his life and how it compares to some of the decisions he's trying to make now, but the end result doesn't seem to match up, for him. It's just a beautiful look at this character that, like, who knew that we were going to get this deep a dive into this character that we met in Little Bird? Like, nobody could have anticipated it. But yeah, I mean, the colors, like you were talking about with Hollingsworth, man, they complement Ian Bertram's artwork so well, and they bring things to life so much in this book. So I don't know, man. Like, I think I couldn't have picked a better book for pick of the month. I think we're all going to be, lined up pretty darn good.
Yeah, I think so. By the way, everybody, if you're confused because Stu was on the thumbnail, Stu could not be here today. He took a look at that thumbnail and said, too much sexy for me, so he had to bow out of the panel. Speaking of sexy, he brought it back a long time ago. Bearded, what do you think about Precious Metal?
Oh, it's trash. No, I'm just joking. It's something else. It is, y'all know, just like you guys, I can't say anything you haven't said already. It's the craft of the book in and of itself is just next level, which is something I appreciate. And, Eric, you mentioned the colors. To go from some of these panels that you get, just flipping through this again, to go like from this, like just a dark black and white with the red blood all over. And then instantly, like the next page is just this most vibrant colors of pinks and greens in the fields. You're just like, this is stunning. And then there's just like the artwork itself. Like, I'm a sucker for things like where you get those little, words right there fit into it, the sound effects.
Onomatopoeia.
I love it. I love that stuff. And so like those little moments like that, this is how I think you should do a book sometimes. If you want to tell, not even a prequel, but a story in this, like this is something that someone could pick up without ever reading Little Bird and be perfectly fine, exploring this world. But I do think then now I'm excited once this all completes to read Little Bird, because I want to see now how this story has affected Sarge and the decisions that he makes in Little Bird, and to see like, okay, maybe he isn't, whatever, like maybe it's a little more justified because he's just a broken human being, and we're kind of going along on this journey with him. And this has been easily one I look forward to every time it comes out. I'm like, yes, Darcy and team are killing it.
There's it in Little Bird. We know that he's trying to redeem himself, right? Mm-hmm. There's this whole redemption thing, and he always talks about his past. We're living the past now, which is just thematically it's just beautiful. And and even in this story, he's got a lot of regrets, and we talked about his memory loss of the past too. So like he's on this redemption arc already, and then who knows what this story is going to bring out? Is it going to be a good ending or a bad? Is that going to set him on the path to where he leads in Little Bird, and he has to redeem that now? It's like unlimited possibility, and I'm all for it.
Yeah, and even in Little Bird, the grandfather character in that too, they allude to this storyline, this favor that he did for him in the past, and I'm like so curious if that's gonna lead up to the ending of this, or if it's gonna be just left open for maybe a new story. Who knows?
Yeah, we might see that favor, right? Like we may actually see that develop. I think so. I mean, it'd be a great way to tie it together. And, Nick, you said that even though only 2 issues are in, like you're already thinking about one of the best of the year, right? That's how I felt 2 issues into Little Bird. Like I was like, this book is already one of the best of the year. And then if I remember correctly, Little Bird 3 set it up again. So, I mean, I need to go back and reread Little Bird. It's been a while. So I need to tie it in. In fact, I didn't realize this dude was from Little Bird until we did this show last month, and y'all brought it up, and I was like, what? And then I flipped through my heart was like, oh my God, I forgot.
He was an integral part for that one issue. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, cool. Eric, we got the obvious one out of the way. What about you? What's the pick of the month?
Oh, this is an easy one after Precious Metal for me. Conan number 12. Dude, finalizing the first year of Jim Zub's run on Conan has been nothing short of spectacular. I mean, I don't know what else I can say about this, man. Roberto Della Torre's artwork on here, the way he emulates Buscema, and the way he makes it feel so old school while keeping it so fresh and so lively. Oh, man, it's fantastic. And the storyline that we've seen here, like, it's all kind of been building up towards Conan's kind of the big bad with Thulsa Doom, and kind of like his rise to power and how they're finally going to start clashing. Dude, it was fantastic. And the color, and you have to forgive me, I don't know who's on color on this, But I got to say, this issue in particular freaking blew me away, because there's a couple splash pages in particular where it's kind of going through Thulsa Doom's origin story, for lack of a better term. And it's like, I mean, they're just huge splash pages with like all this cosmic energy, like surging out of everything basically. And it's colored so gorgeously. Conan is just like the sleeper pick every single month. I feel like I'm glad to hear that Jim Zub has kind of re-upped his contract now. He's going to be doing it for another couple of years, because I could seriously just like read Conan for the rest of my life by Jim Zub and be completely happy. It's just an amazing book.
It's also one of my favorite covers of the month. That Jeffrey Love Allen cover.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yep. It's so freaking good.
Yeah.
And Jim Zub's Conan has done the unthinkable. It has gotten me invested in a Conan book beyond 12 issues, because I loved issue 13, actually, because we had 2 issues out this month, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited for the future of the Conan franchise, with Jim Zub kind of like at the spearhead of it. And they just also announced that they've doubled the length of Savage Tales of Conan from 6 to 12 issues at least. They're bringing in Rob Thomas to do a story. Not Rob Thomas, Roy Thomas. Rob Thomas from Matchbox 20.
Matchbox 20. Let's go.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
You want to push you?
Yeah. That would be great. But I wonder how long until Roy Thomas decides that he deserves creatorship of Conan, because he brought him into Marvel Comics.
Get it.
Anyway, what about you, Greg? Are you reading Conan?
No, I'm reading the other Conan book you guys talked about.
Savage Sword.
Yeah.
That's good too.
We'll do that too. It's awesome.
Yeah. Give it time.
I haven't. So this is one I haven't yet. Like I gotta get into Conan, right? Like, you know, I'm doing a little bit.
This is the way to do it, though. Is the Jim Zub run?
Okay.
It's consistent, and one of the first times really where there's like a long form story being told with Conan. I'm sure people have done this before. I know Jason Aaron kind of did it or whatnot, but like, I don't know. This is reading like an old school comic, like. But tied all in together. And I don't know, maybe Conan books back in the day. I'm not that familiar with Conan to say shit like that. So probably not, right? That was probably wrong. But there's something about it that's just absolutely cool. The only thing I don't like about the book is the lettering on the title pages. Like it feels very 90s to me. You know, it's like that Richard Starking 1990 shit, you know, and that's fine. That's fine. But the book is so good. So freaking good. What about you, Nick? What do you think?
I like, you know, just like you said, it's done the impossible and made me a Conan fan. And not to say that Conan was like a whatever franchise leading up, but it's one I just did not have any experience with. And so I am all in with everything. If I see Conan, I'm hitting pre-order every time I see it now on FOC. And this series was great. The first arc in particular is probably my favorite, but everything leading out of that was complimentary. It made sense. It was fun. There's a lot of mystery in this issue too. They wrap things up. They're going to start that new arc with 13, when we did earlier this month. There's still a lot of mystery. There's a cosmic perspective even here. There's a mystical perspective. There's all these cool things that they're tackling at once in the book. The compositions in this particular issue were amazing. There are things that we haven't seen before. The way that he was just playing with space on that page and just telling that story. It was done really, really well. So yeah, I'm all in on everything Conan right now, and I'm so excited we're gonna get 3 more years of Zub. So yeah, dude, bring it on.
So they're doing that. They're building up to that crossover thing, right? That big event, like the Battle of the Black Stone or something like that, right? And they're even doing a novel as a part of that. And they even got me wanting to get this novel and read it. I ain't never read a Conan novel. You know what I'm saying? So I mean that's really exciting and really cool, and also leading into, I guess, what would we call it, like the Howard verse. You know, like bringing all those other characters in, like in the Free Comic Book Day issue, and having them all exist, even though in different times, but in the same world, right? And they're doing a big kind of, I don't know, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen type thing with it, but not the movie. I'm talking about the comic. The comic's good. The movie is another thing. The only staunch defender of that movie, by the way, is Greg. So, Greg, what's your pick of the month?
Listen, as an avid Sean Connery fan, you know, I can talk about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen all day long, even if it was such a bad movie, it made him want to quit acting.
It's true.
He's like, nah, I'm done. You guys ruined it for me. I'm doing some bad movies, but no, let's do this. You know what? I feel like I haven't talked about this enough here, and so I'm going to do it. So I'm going to talk about it here. Dick Tracy, baby. I am hooked. This, like, obviously, if you all follow my stuff, like, you know, I'm a huge Dick Tracy fan. And like, I was super excited that this was coming back into the world. But what they've done with this book is fantastic for me as a fan, because I think if you're not an obsessive fan like I am, it is really good of just like a 19 kind of like 50s like crime book where you've got your mafia, you've got your crime families going against each other, and now you're showing stuff with Dick Tracy with his war flashbacks, like adding another layer to who Dick Tracy is as a character, rather than just a really cool detective. And so like I'm so invested in this book on so many levels. Like no character's safe. They're just like whatever villain they want to, they can bring him in, they can kill him. And it just has been I'm a stand for Dick Tracy, so I get it. But I think this has just been one of those where I'm like, they could have gone so many different routes of cliche or, like the over the top, because the characters are over the top, like Shoulders and Itchy and Mumbles. And I think they've really grounded the story in a way that I'm excited for. And it's violent, and but the pages are beautiful with, again, the lettering and stuff like this. Like you get these splash pages and stuff like that just shows like it's everything. I'm sorry, I pulled it away too quick. It just is a fun, like who's not who done it, but like, who's going to come out on top here and who's going to survive this gang war and stuff like that. So I'm loving this series. I think Mad Cave is hitting a stride right now with their books that they're tacking into nostalgia, and they're doing great.
Yeah, they really are. And they're doing amazing with Dick Tracy. And like, if they ever wanted to try to do a Dick Tracy movie again, this is your blueprint.
Yes.
Is this book, because it is a great introduction to the world and the characters. It's grounded, like you said, very much in reality, and even dealing with the facts of like World War II, that like some of these people were soldiers in World War II, and they're dealing with the after effects and the traumatic stress off of that. And then, but you're not shying away from the exaggerated features of these characters or the character-ish nature of these characters, right? You're leaning into that. And yeah, you said no one was safe, bruh. I mean, I guess I sometimes we spoil stuff. I don't want to spoil anything here, but I hate when they kill Dustin Hoffman. Like, what the hell, dude? Don't do that to me, man. And I'm just like, maybe he's okay. And then you read this issue, you're like, no, no, he's not. But it's great. So this is Alex Sakura and Michael Morisi writing this one together.
Yep.
And Michael's already great. I think Alex is the rights holder to it. I think Joe Corallo told me that. So this is a passion project for both of them. And by the way, Big Herm, you're going to get banned from this channel if you keep with that nonsense. Okay. That is hate speech right there. But anyway, I love what Dick Tracy's doing. And you're right. Mad Cave is on a tear right now, because another great book this month that maybe somebody will mention, I don't know, but it's Flash Gordon. Gordon was also really good. So Mad Cave's kind of turning the corner right now. What about you, Nick? What do you think about Dick Tracy? You reading it?
Yeah, I am reading it. I do like it. I'm not the avid fan, but I grew up with the franchise growing, like I played that NES game way too much. Remember that shit?
Oh, poor you, bro. That game sucks.
That game was so bad. And I loved the movie growing up too. So I was really excited for this one. So I was hard on it on my last review, but in retrospect, I shouldn't have been, because all the characters are accentuated. Like we were just talking about before, like everyone's just a little bit over the top, but like it plays in that universe. And I think that's like the point of it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of tropes, a lot of old detective tropes that we're going to run into in here, but I like all the reactions. I like the action. The coloring is amazing. I'm digging the artwork in here too. So like, yeah, of these like older franchises that are coming back, this big flood of franchises we're getting back, I'm glad Dick Tracy's one of them, and they're doing a quality book. So yeah, good pick.
Heck yeah. What about you, Eric? You got any thoughts?
Oh, hell yeah. I love this book. I think that issue 3 was the most effective issue of Dick Tracy so far. It's the one that I've enjoyed the most. And Robbie, you hit the nail on the head when you said grounded, right? Because they dialed the camp way down from OG Dick Tracy. They grounded a little bit, but they didn't do what most books do, which is course correct way too much. It's not like we're getting the dark, gritty Frank Miller's Dick Tracy. Like, no, we're just getting a grounded, realistic Dick Tracy story. And I appreciate that, man. I love what they're doing. Greg, you even said it. Like, I love the way that they're incorporating his war background and how that's impacting, everything that's going on right now. Fantastic book. It's really, really good.
Cool. Greg was the first one tonight, though, that said it was grounded. Just want to let that be known.
Oh, dude,
but I've been saying it on my channel the entire time, so it's fine. I'll take that too. God, there was something else I was going to say, and then I went for the bit instead of the nuance and impactful thing I was about to say. So,
But I will say, like, what is nice is if you read the old comic strips, like it was a pretty violent strip for being in the newspaper. So they're tapping back into that still aspect of the Dick Tracy character too. They're kind of un-Disney-fying it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. Dick Tracy's a really cool one. So I'm glad that you brought that one up. My turn. Wow, okay. My second pick, because the first would have been Precious Metal, but I'll go with Ice Cream Man number 40.
Nice.
Because I absolutely loved Ice Cream Man number 40. So in issue 39, we had that decompressed story of the family dying in the car crash, right? So in issue 40, we get the opposite of that. We get the dudes in the truck, right? That's hitting the family. And so, and you have this one dude who like wants to be a writer, and there's all this other stuff going on. And then to me, the big kicker was at the end where you read his first published work, and it's like a happier version of the story that you just read. And I love that. You know, Ice Cream Man doesn't typically do two-parters. And even in doing a two-parter, they still did two very separate and self-contained stories. But the way that that worked together and the way the covers came together to make one image blew my mind. And to take the idea once again of decompression in storytelling and comics, do it for the second episode to a different effect and result really just won me over. And I'm loving Ice Cream Man. It's always so freaking good, you know, and there maybe even the moments where I feel like it dips, it's still one of the best comics out there on the market. Martin Morazzo's artwork is so good. I don't think he gets enough credit for his artwork because he's so good at expressions and his characters emoting. He's so good at having detail without clutter. And I mean, just little ticks that he'll do to show a richer sense of detail to the scene, but it doesn't overclutter it, right? And it feels very cartoony, but it is not cartoony at all ever with its themes or its content. Absolutely fantastic stuff. Thoughts on Ice Cream Man this month, Nick?
No, everything that you said. I echo all of that. The art style, his art style is just so creepy, and it works perfectly for this style of story. So that works out. It's like a masterclass in character study, you know, like developing a character, being in their shoes for a while, you know, hearing about their troubles, hearing about their successes, their life, their relationships, and then applying this like dreadful scene on top of it and having it come from every other perspective as well. So it's just brilliant. Like we examined the family and the parents and the kids and stuff, and that was all tragic, but we got to see what the life was like from their perspective, and then like their world just end at that moment. And then this issue, of course, with the two drivers, two very different people, but they got along. And again, like that letter at the end, the complete opposite. It's a whole like meta narrative as well. It's like, you know, he retold the story in a positive way, and you know, you could take from that what you wish. So I thought nobody builds a character better in like a single issue than this team right here. So yeah, they did a hell of a job.
Heck yeah. What about you, Eric? What are you thinking?
Yeah, dude, this was a great issue. This is the thing that like pulled me actually back in, because I was reading Ice Cream Man just solely in hardcover because I was real late to the game and everyone was talking this issue up, so I had to circle back around to read it. And man, like this issue did it right. And I think the thing I said previously was like, man, like they took a couple pages where it was nothing but words, right? It was the guy's, you know, it was the story that he wrote, and they put it in there, and they did it in an effective way that didn't draw you out of the story like some other books can do, where like you kind of get out of the visual aspect of it. It was just such a beautiful meta look at, like you said, like the decompression, like all the different aspects, whether it be from the view of a comic, from the view of the people in the story, the reader of the story. It was just like such a really beautiful melding of all those things, like so effectively. It was a fantastic issue.
Absolutely. What do you think, Greg?
Still not reading Ice Cream Man.
God damn, dude.
Listen.
I said if there was one thing,
how many years
you
are we
rant
gonna
and ramble about Dick Tracy for 5 minutes, man, and you can't read an issue of Ice Cream Man?
I have. I read it when it started, and it didn't hook me. And every time I'm like, I will not say every time. There have definitely been times where you guys talk, I'm like, I'm glad I missed that issue. Like I don't. But this one, I'm really intrigued. Like this makes me want to go back to my shop and see, like, do you have 3940? Because now I am intrigued by this concept. But it's just so hit or miss for me that I can't invest all the time. So what I do now is listen to you guys tell me which ones you like, and I go, I think I'll like that one. All right, let's read it. So
okay, that's fine. Here's what's crazy about Ice Cream Man. Whenever I go back and I read the early issues, it's like another book. It's like nowhere near the level it's about to get to. and which is so weird. Like the first one, it's like this horror anthology. It's tied very much in this ice cream man showing up, giving somebody some ice cream. Their life kind of gets all fucked up. Yeah, you know, and all the spiders. And the first time, I remember the first time where I was like, this book is really something special, was that Neapolitan issue where it's about the dude who has 3 different paths in his life, and they're all shaded like Neapolitan ice cream. That's still one of my favorite single issues, but like they just keep reaching. And the thing about Ice Cream Man that I love is innovation. This is a book that is constantly trying to innovate how to tell a story, and how to tell a story with a comic book format, right? It's always pushing that envelope. And yeah, I get it. There are times where it gets depressing. There are times where it gets really fucked up and twisted. But there is a thread of hope and optimism to me in Ice Cream Man. And maybe that's because I watched some of the gnarliest, trashiest horror movies out there, you know, and try to find the good in every single one of them. I watched this one last night. Me and my girlfriend watched it. It was so bad, but we loved it so much. But there is a genuine thread of hope in here, because, you know, I think Ice Cream Man is about the human experience and condition, right? Just overall, that's what it's about. It's about life, the good and the bad. And there are moments, sometimes it throws you for a loop when there's a happy ending on an Ice Cream Man. You know what I'm saying? But it has happened once or twice. So heck yeah, Ice Cream Man gets brought up yet again. All right. Yeah. Man, we're like fucking on tonight, man. I bet this would have taken 2 hours just to get through round 1 if Stu was here. You know what I'm saying? So I'm glad.
I thought we were if Joe was here.
Oh, Robbie's out.
Oh no.
Robbie's like, this is going so fast.
He was going so
my
well.
internet glitch.
Dude, imagine if he is doing the bit though, man, to hold that.
He's back.
He's back for so long.
Nick, what's your next pick?
All right, dude. All right. Maybe we brought this book up in the past. I don't know, but I'm loving this one. It's another book this month that I had to read 2.5 times just to kind of like wrap my head around the story and to really understand what was going on. But after I did, I think it's brilliant, and it continues to be. We're going over to DC Comics. We have John Constantine, Hellblazer, Dead in America. This is issue number 7. This book, I loved this one, and Robbie's gone. Is it that bad of a pick? That
listen, I'm out.
I'm out. Trash. This book is awesome, though. This is a story about John. He's going through his own personal issues right now. He's technically dead in America. He's traveling east to west through the United States right now. He has his gang from the previous run kind of coming with him. We have Swamp Thing around too from time to time. This one right here, Cy Spurrier, Aaron Campbell, and Jody Belair first on the creative team. This one right here is him and an unlikely ally, I don't want to spoil too much, are actually trying to understand this ally's like past a little bit. John's actually on a revenge mission inside this issue set up by Morpheus himself, by Dream. And there's some steps that they have to go through, some rituals, some understanding of this guy's past in order to execute on this revenge mission. And I just love how the story is like evolving over time. John is constantly being allied with like these mystical beings from across the DC universe in a way while he's on this mission. And like the artwork is so complementary to that. It's so creepy and eerie. The coloring is so creepy and eerie too. So it's like the best creative team possible. And yeah, I just love these. They're seemingly unconnected, but I think in like if you read it from start to finish, I think it's going to be a great epic tale. And yeah, man, Hellblazer Dead in America, it's a series that's really building out for me. And I love the previous one. So that's my runner up for this month. Eric, man, are you reading this one? What do you think, man?
Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly, because this was a challenging read. Like this one, I had to go back and read it multiple times myself. And when you're rereading Cy Spurrier, who already puts 2, books worth of narration in one single issue, good Lord, it gets a little bit trying. But I agree. I mean, this was a really good issue. Calling that dude an unlikely ally is very generous. I will say that without spoiling anything else. But yeah, I love seeing John Constantine's travels and like what's happening. Uh-oh, we're gone.
We're good. We'll continue.
Yeah. But seeing his travels and like kind of the journey that he's on has been fantastic. And I love, like, I didn't wrap my head around the entire series until I did get to the notion that this is episodic. Like each issue, there is an overarching story, but you have to take each issue as it is and just kind of follow that adventure. It's almost kind of like X-Files, like Monster of the Week kind of stuff.
Right.
This was such a harrowing book though, man. Like this really like tugged at you, because there are some things that happen in this book that are they're difficult to digest, right? They're hard to deal with, but it's written in such a way that it makes it just so enriching, engrossing, and you want to stick around to see how everything finishes out, no matter how gnarly some of the stuff can get. So yeah, I love this book. I love the entire series so far.
You know what else it does? It's a great retrospective tale as well. So like everyone that he aligns with, especially in this book, we're going back in time and reliving some of their experiences. And basically it all has to do with Dream's sand, right? We're trying to find it again. There's different people throughout history that we explore in the series that have interacted with it in some way, whether it's like, I forget what her name is, but she's essentially some kind of siren or something. And she's been wronged in the past by like the gods. Right. And she's been captured in that jar for all the time. And she's like a muse, right? They're bringing like real world authors and stuff into this mix, wrapping it up with like cult and lore and things like that. And we're unpacking like their experiences with Dream Sand and how it's been used in the past, who's been able to access it, what kind of like sacrifices they had to give up, right, in order to utilize that power, and what did they do with it? And then like, what are the repercussions of that? And so that's what this issue is really about too. So I just love the way that they're playing with all those themes and bringing in all these characters, and they're doing a really great job with that. But anyway, speaking of always doing a really great job explaining what they're talking about, Greg, you're reading this, man?
I'm not. This is another one. I've never gotten into really John Constantine books. This is one of those, like, to pick up Hellblazer, like I missed out on the Vertigo days. So this just kind of always, like, my exposure to John Constantine is always like when he shows up in any of the team books or Justice League Dark or something like that. So it's not like out of spite. It is just, there's so many books, and this is one of them I haven't started yet.
I don't blame you for that. I will say, if you're watching this and you are interested, pick up the previous volume and read through that. Okay. That's gonna set up why we are dead, why we are in America, and who these people are and the relationship they are to John. That's going to set you up.
So you're saying it's a good one to hop into though and check out though if you dip your toe into it?
I think Dead in America is a bad place to jump in.
Okay.
I would go back to the previous volume of.
Well, no, but I'm saying that volume you would say is a good one to jump into if you're trying to. Okay.
Because like Eric said, if you jump in, then it's that episodic X-Files kind of a thing. You're like, oh, he's in London. Oh, he's around magic users. Oh, he gets mixed up with this bouncer chick. Who's this kid that's deaf? You know what I mean? Like, they feed you all this information, and they kind of spoon feed you, and then it's episodic, and then it rolls into this other story, which is Dead in America. So yeah.
They give yourself a solid like 2 weeks off of work just to sit down, because it's going to take time to read all these books.
Then you're like, how do I read this with a British accent? Like, what do I got to do to like make this phonetically work?
Yeah. See, I would do it in like a cheap Cockney accent that wouldn't even be the right.
You're like, what is that? I haven't even heard of that slang before. That's crazy. Yeah. So anyway, Dead in America is my runner up right there. Eric, I think you're up, right, man? What do you got for your runner up?
I am up. There's a lot that's still on the top end here, but I'm going to go with Ain't No Grave. I thought that this was a super effective issue, and I think that it parallels a lot of the things that we actually talked about in Precious Metals, because it's kind of following a little bit of the same story for our main character. It's all about the choices they made in the past, the choices that they're making now, maybe trying to change the person, maybe not so much trying to change the person that they are, and doing so with, maybe because of the child that's in their life, right? Yeah. So seeing her get into purgatory and kind of on this war path, like all the way to death, trying to make sure that she can stop herself from dying, has been an awesome journey. And this one, the biggest thing about this issue has definitely been the artwork for me, because Jorge Corona, I never would have imagined that someone could draw a scene of people playing poker in such an energetic and exciting fashion. But the way that he composed like the pages of this going on, like it had you on the edge of your seat going like, oh my God, who's going to get the right card? What's going to happen? Where the chips are down, the chips are up, let's go. Right. So it was a really, really entertaining issue. And again, Scotty just keeps upping his game to the point where I think of Scotty Young as the writer more so than I think of Scotty Young, the artist nowadays. That speaks volumes.
Yeah. He's ever the variant artist though, isn't he? Yeah. And the king of Heroes Con auctions. So
yeah, exactly.
Greg, man, you read Ain't No Grave?
Guys, I swear I read comics.
Are we what? Okay. He read Precious Metal, guys.
I
Thank
read
you,
comics.
Greg.
I do, gang. I do read comics. This was one that this story didn't click for me. So I read issue 1, and I was just like, I'm gonna wait and see if people like this, because the first issue just it felt disjointed for me. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hold off, because I do like Scotty Young as a writer. But I was like, no, I'm gonna pass on it. So I did not read it.
Dude, nobody told him that Batman shows up halfway through issue number 2. Just skip it between us.
Listen, if one character would, it would be.
Eric, you mentioned Corona's art in here too. Like this book in particular, he's creating impossible characters, like physics, like like physically impossible characters. Whether it's our main character's hair, or her outfit with the coat and the belts and the straps and the different layers and all this stuff. And then particularly,
that hair is achievable, though. We've all seen There's Something About Mary. It's achievable. I'm just gonna throw that out there.
That's true. That's with just enough hair gel. That's definitely achievable. But this, like, what would you call her? Like this character that we're introduced here. It's like I don't know. They're managing this casino, right? And the amount of like floral arrangements and hats and coats and design, like this is Corona doing some stuff that I've never seen before in comics, which is just like exaggerate those aspects to the 10th degree, right? And it's incredible. It's incredible.
It's like an acid trip queen of the Riverboat Casino, and I love it.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yep. Good call. Robbie, we're talking about Ain't No Grave, issue number 3. This was Eric's pick right here, man. Did you read that one? What'd you think?
Yeah, we're gonna give this another go. Yeah, I like the book. I do. I really do. I think Jorge Corona's artwork is spectacular.
Yep.
I think the story's good. It's pretty solid. It's not like to the level of like something like I've seen Scotty Young write better, like stories, more compelling stories, at least to me, like with Middle West or The Me You Love in the Dark, right? But there is something about this one. It's in its simplicity that I like, because I don't think that a lot of Western stories are very complex. You know, they're not like overly complex, and he's kind of playing with that structure. And I really do enjoy that, but it's the art that really sells it for me.
Yeah.
And it's always dropping the same day as Transformers. And I look at the two of them together. I'm like, I can tell this is the same dude, but they are slightly different. Like he is doing a little bit. I mean, they're both dynamic, but there's something else to each of them, right? I don't even know how to really put my finger on it. Like there's more
an underlying similarity.
Yeah. I mean, you can tell it's his style, right? But it's like, there's more of like a texture-y dynamism that's in the Transformers. And in here, it's more like, I don't know, it's more big, it's explosive. It like, I think the storytelling's better because it's allowed, like, there's not as many words in this one, and the panels are bigger, and the pages have more room to breathe and be explosive. So I think it's a really solid book. Maybe not the best book they've done together, but you know, the book's not even over. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
for sure enough.
Yep. I think we went all the way around. So Greg, Greg, you're up next, man. What's your runner up, dude?
Runner up. I gotta go with Scarlett, issue number 2. Again, this is coming from someone who knows nothing about G.I. Joe. So this is all fresh to me. But the opening pages won it over for me. Like, she's captured and tied up, and she's like, oh shoot, my lockpick's gone in my mouth. And then she pulls out a razor blade out of her side to just cut stuff. And I'm just like, that is the coolest thing ever. And I love it. And then you get these things of like, you know, it goes right into action packed of, you know, fighting the ninjas, and it gets violent. It's cutthroat. And I'm just like, you see how much of a weapon she is. And so this is just one that it flows so nicely for me of like, it's action packed. I still don't know what's going on kind of necessarily with the backstory stuff, but I'm loving this world that they set up of, you know, that then she's like, oh, cool, I'm about to have to go on suicide missions, but she's like, I can handle it because I'm Scarlett. Like, what up? That just seems like her character is kind of like, comes off as like she can do anything. And I think that works really well in a comic. So I'm here for it.
Well, you just named an Energon book, you know, and that means that obviously I love it. I think Scarlett's great. I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's been the one out of the 4 Joe books that excites me probably the least. But Duke excited me very little at first too. But then Duke came out with a bang, right? Scarlett came out all right, solid, but I thought issue 2 was building on that. I really like this relationship dynamic that they're developing between Jinx and Scarlett, which I like Joe, but like Joe was not my thing in the 80s, like Masters of the Universe, Silverhawks, Thundercats, Transformers. That was more where I led to, and then eventually Turtles, and then into the 90s stuff with X-Men and Batman and Power Rangers, right? So Joe was something that I always knew of and always appreciated, but never super got into. But I always loved the bad guys. And it's no surprise that out of the Joe books so far, Destro and Cobra Commander are my favorites. But I have always loved the Arashikagu faction. Like I always loved the whole stuff with Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. And that was always interesting to me. And I like how they're kind of folding Scarlet and Jinx into that early on, building up this relationship, their secret language. And you can see and feel the passion that Kelly Thompson has for that character. And I think she's doing a great job. Any thoughts, Nick?
No, I like it too. It was, it might be lower on my broader Energon books at the moment, but I'm a fan of Kelly Thompson and I like a lot of stuff that she's put out. And that opening part was really gnarly. I did like that. So far, like, I don't know why they didn't just kill her. They kind of bound her up and killed her, but they said like, oh, we recognize your talent and we want to bring you in and we want to like utilize that right to our own. And the only reason they would do that is because they've had success with that philosophy in the past with like Jinx perhaps. So like, that's why they're going to try it with her as well. Like any other time, if you have like one of the best of your opposition, you're just going to wipe them out. Right. Like there's no converting that person or whatever. So like that, there's a few things that didn't quite land, but I liked it a lot. I like the, I'm so confident I could do anything. Put me on a suicide mission. I'll earn your trust, even though we as readers know that that's not what she's going for. I think that they know that as well. I don't think that they're letting on. They know this is a trap for them, and they're just trying to either wipe her out or take advantage of her powers to like do whatever they can do in the short term. So I'm waiting for that switch to happen, and I think she's setting herself up for failure. I think she thinks this is too easy, and I think it is.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Especially by issue 2, right? So
right,
like there's going to be a big turn there.
Why wouldn't you kill me? Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Right.
Speaking of a big turn, Bob Seger's Turn the Page is not a good song in Eric's mind. However, the Metallica cover is the best song of the universe. So what about you, Eric? What do you think about Scarlett?
I think that Scarlett is much more effective than Metallica's cover of Bob Seger's song. I don't have any strong, notions towards anything in the Energon universe. I just, I didn't really gravitate towards it as a child. So Transformers, I mean, it was there. It was kind of on the side. Same thing with G.I. Joe. But I think that's why I like Scarlett so much, is because I think that Scarlett stands alone better than any other series that's been debuted from the Energon universe. Everything else has kind of had their inklings, right? It's like, oh, Cobra finds Megatron and Duke sees, the Transformers, and that's all well and good. But Scarlett is its own entity and it's not reliant on anything else. And I just appreciate that from a storytelling aspect. And yeah, are there some tropey things that happen? Does she get out of some things a little bit easy? Sure. But it's a comic, and it's a comic based on a cartoon. So I'm going to sit here and have fun with it because that's exactly what I should be doing.
That's beautiful. Well said, Eric.
Batman does that every month. This motherfucker jumped from the moon and fell on the earth, and everybody was telling me how fast it was, and I was like, that was the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen. There's no way that happens. You know what I'm saying?
And Chip stole that from Batman and Robin when they surfed out of Mr. Freeze's space.
You're right.
So, like, Chip was obviously a big Batman and Robin fan because he saw him bust out Arnold Schwarzenegger's rocket ship and surf down on the doors throughout the city in space. Like,
my God, did I forget about that?
No, I guess so, because that's
that
like
happened?
That's the highlight of the fucking movie, bro. That's like the climax right there, dude.
At the beginning, they shoot up the rocket ship. They bust out the doors both at the same time, and they surf down through space, basically.
Do you know what my favorite thing about you is, Greg? Is that your love and knowledge of shitty ass movies from the 90s, man. Like, I mean, you're right there with me, bro. Like, we're the same dude when it comes to that, man. Like, fuck man. Yeah, dude.
Also, tour de force masterpieces like Last Action Hero, though, which is not shitty by any means.
It's not shitty, but it was like the only movie during Horror Fest I did not give a 5, which is pretty fucking weird to me. Well, I didn't give every Die Hard a 5, just the first one, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. Last Action Hero was super fun. Like I got to
It
get
did
that
be
on
fun.
Blu-ray. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, you're the guy who likes Metallica's Turn the Page better than Bob Seger's, so I don't know what to say about that.
Oh,
Oh,
let's
wow.
go. Here we go.
Jeez, with karate chop action.
yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah.
I like
Fuck
that it's
yeah.
not even. It's like
Well, now that's like a that's not.
that's
That
the
looked
right
wrong
hand.
at first there.
Yeah, that didn't. A good thing it didn't go the other direction.
We
Yeah,
should have
I
had
remember.
you on the show. Next time we do one of those 90s classics.
You should see the Jack the Ripper action figure. It is not.
bro.
It's a little anti-Semitic. Is that what?
No, he
Oh.
he has an axe, and the axe is chopping motion, but the hands start lower.
Yeah,
is
I
what I'll
can't. I
say.
can't envision it. Mime it out.
I'll let you
Just like he's jerking himself off. Is that what you're saying? All right. So I guess my second pick then, right? Which was Ice Cream Man. So my third pick.
Yeah.
One that really surprised me because I had incredibly low expectations was Nice House by the Sea, issue number 1. I really, really liked that book. Now, I enjoyed Nice House by the Lake or on the lake, right? Is it on the lake or by the lake?
On
By the lake.
By the way,
nice
On?
house by the lake.
Nice house by a body of water.
Yes,
Nice
exactly.
House,
That's
no,
just
Nice House on the Lake.
What
Nice
was it
House
really?
on
It
the
was the Matrix house though, right? So like, was it
yeah,
on the
lake.
lake? Okay.
It's not
Oh,
on
proof.
the lake though, right? It's anyway. So
Yeah.
Nice House on the Lake. I enjoyed. I really liked the first issue. I was getting into it. I started criticizing it as being like I can't necessarily tell these characters apart right now. And then the book hit a bunch of lateness and it was hard to keep up with. And by the end of it, I was underwhelmed. And I think a lot of that had to do with the experience of its delays, right? So I've yet to actually go down and read the entire 12 issue run. I'd like to do that in one sitting and see how it irons out. But when I first heard about Nice House by the Sea and that it was like the same concept, but a different house with a different cast of characters, I was like, that's some bullshit. I was like, that is the laziest bullshit I have ever heard. James, there's a conspiracy theory out there that James Tynion is using AI to write his scripts. And that's why there's been a dip in quality over the last few years. I don't believe that. Right. But I'm just saying this was a moment where I was like, maybe he is. You know what I'm saying? But then I read the book and was blown away by it. First of all, I was blown away because now we can easily define the Nice House series or franchise as it's going to be as real world in the apocalypse. That's what it is. It's the real world in the apocalypse. And some of y'all may not remember the real world out there. Actually, we have an older audience, so everybody here knows what the real world was. It's when people stop being polite, start getting real at the end of the world, right? So, and I was a big avid real world fan. But anyway,
favorite city, go. Which one?
Favorite city? Oh,
Yeah.
dude, that's rough. That's tough. Man,
I gotta
first
go
of all,
Seattle.
Seattle's good. I really like
Yeah.
the Hawaii one. I really like New Orleans as well. And San Francisco is always a classic.
Now
You
I just
know?
really want him to lean into this though and do like Nice House by MTV's Real House, like and just
Yeah.
go hard into this concept.
Nice
Quick.
House by the Spring Break condo is the next one, right?
Can we get Jan Cortez to live in the house? Please?
Chat, throw out your favorite season of,
Yeah. Your favorite season of Real Worlds.
of Real World. Go.
Yeah, if I don't know, there was something about me that really liked the Hawaii one. New
York and
Orleans was
Seattle are my
fun.
favorite.
New York,
Yeah.
like the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then
The first
Seattle.
one's weird because the first one they didn't know what the hell they were doing. Then they realized, oh, we just got to get these guys super drunk so they fuck each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, that's what this show's about. We thought it was about talking about issues. But anyway, anyway, so we'll stop. Seattle is good though. Seattle's a good. All right, moving on. So I read this book and I really liked the characters, and every character was instantly distinguishable to me apart from the previous one. I also like that all of these are people that are like at the top of their field pretty much in whatever their field is. So like, and you see, I guess this is curated by a different dude, right? It's curated by a different guy and he's picking, and I guess they're in a competition. So now we're about to have Nice House by the Road Rules real world crossover. But we're really diving deep into the 90s today, man. I love it. But I really enjoyed and understood these characters better than the characters in Nice House or On the Lake instantly. Like I was more enamored with these characters and the dynamics between them. And then and so I'm reading it. I'm like, actually, this isn't half bad. This is pretty good. And I get to the end, spoilers, the end is directly connected to On the Lake and blew my mind, even though it should have been obvious. It should have been so obvious, but I wasn't anticipating that, because what I was anticipating was to Joe Corallo the fuck out of this book and just cut it apart on my review. And I really, really enjoyed the book. I thought the art was solid. I thought the writing and the pacing was solid. It was the characters that really sold it for me, though, over Nice House On the Lake. So I really, really enjoyed it. What about you, Nick? What'd you think?
I didn't read this one because everything you said about Nice House on the Lake, I agree with. Like James Hunter has a great way of making great premises, right? Like he has a great premise. I love the idea of like this other race coming down, creating a bubble, bringing in their friends who have impact on society, and they just want them to like coexist and whatever. But like the truth gets out and people start getting real. You know what I mean? And then like shit just hits the fan, you know, like you did it with Department of Truth as well. Like I love the premise, the idea behind the story, I think is solid. I did not like the execution of Nice House on the Lake. And what I was almost hate reading this book because I felt like I appreciate everything he's doing. And I want this to be a great story and I want it to be impactful and I want to remember it forever and it be one of my favorites. But I got to the end and I'm like, really? This is where we're going? And then this one came out and everything you said, all the hesitancies that you mentioned leading into this issue or into this series, I had, but then I executed on not buying it. And then I hear like spoilers, Eric liked it too. You know, this is a great first issue. And then Robbie, you're saying you like it. So I'm just like, damn it. Do I just need to take the plunge and read the first issue and just hope to God by like the 5th issue, I'm not going to have revisiting thoughts that I had back in Nice House on the Lake and Department of Truth. Am I going to regret this in 5 issues, James? Am I going to regret it? Or are you going to hook me in again and then break my heart, you know? So
one would anticipate that they have learned their lesson and that they got the majority of the series done before they publish issue 1. We know that that's probably not the case.
But I mean, even if it came out monthly and there was no shipping delays, I don't think my opinion would have changed because I forgot that happened. I just remember the story that unpacked over time. And I'm like,
they took like a 6-month break or something between 6 and 7 or something.
That doesn't help at all. Yeah.
And then it like broke apart again. And like, it was like 2 or 3 months between certain issues. And just got to the point where it was a chore to keep up with this damn book. Right.
And too many characters. Yeah.
And too many characters, but here those characters are more clearly defined. Like there's an actor, there's a writer, they are aware of the experiment. They are aware that the world is over and that they can do whatever they want. So like one person, by the way, and a lot of these people are like older. So there's like a 60, 70-year-old woman who has used the technology that's available to her to de-age herself back down to like 20. And other characters like, this is disgusting, right? One of the characters is a senator. Like, so there's a politician, there's the writer there. It's the same type thing. And there's this competition where people are setting up these people in different houses to see, I guess, who picks the best final 12 of, and that's where the road rules is going to come in, because then they're going to all have to like wacky race themselves across the fucking frontier of the apocalypse in one cumulative series, Nice House by the whatever. I don't know. I get exactly what you're saying, though. It could go either way, but this one issue, that's what I mean. This one issue was one of the best comics of the month.
That's all we got to go off of. Yeah. Good point.
Yep. So I read this issue out of spite because I shat all over Department of Truth last month because I was done with time. I was refusing to read another single issue that dude put out because he has proven himself to be like the Artur version of Donny Cates, where he is so prestigious and he has such these wonderful concepts and he can take that plane off and he draws you in and he can't land the darn thing. But man, I loved this issue. I thought it was so effective and I thought it was so good for the same reasons that Robbie said. The Nice House, did we agree it's on the lake? Nice House on the lake. The characters, they didn't have roles. And it's the same thing with this new series. I couldn't name any of the characters that the names of the characters, but since they have roles, like you were saying, like the senator, the writer, like at least you can say, oh, it's that one. Oh, it's that dude. Oh, it's that one. The other one, you couldn't do that. It was just like Bob doesn't want to have breakfast and Janie's going for a walk and found a statue. And I had no interest in any of these people. These people I have interest in. I don't know, man. Like I'm leery to say that I'm all in on this because it's only issue 1. But man, the artwork was great. The coloring was so vibrant. Like, and it kind of drew me in. And damn you, James Tynion, I think you kind of did it. The 3rd series, though, I think is going to be the real banger because when we find out that Too Short and Shaq are in one of the houses and it's going to be Rockin' Jock Baseball.
I was like, where's he going with this?
It's going to be epic. It's going to be so good.
Flava Flav and Vanilla Ice are going to show up in book 4. It's going to be really good adventure for me. I loved Rockin' Jock Baseball and basketball. I love that shit. I thought that stuff.
So
they got to be on YouTube somewhere, right? Because one day I went down a rabbit hole and just watched a bunch of episodes of Remote Control on YouTube. I stayed up till like 3 in the fucking morning watching Remote Control on YouTube, being like, "Oh, Adam Sandler." Anyway, then I tried it, was singled out, but it didn't last as long. What about you, Bearded? Did you read this one?
Y'all crack me up because y'all have said like, man, I love James. He does a great first issue, and he just can't then land the plane. And you're all like, I'm in now after this first issue. I'm like, you're gonna get broke. You're gonna get hurt again, Eric. He's gonna hurt you. He's gonna hurt you.
Just like Peter Parker told Miles, it's a leap of faith. Okay.
You are his prime market. He's like, man, listen, I'll just get him because I got a great concept. It'll happen. No, I'm not. Everything that Robbie and Nick have alluded to with the first series, that is definitely like, all right, let's see what happens. But no, I'm not reading this one.
Maybe you should read that first issue at least.
No, I'll tell you what.
I can't do it. I can't go back to him.
The first arc. If y'all still like it after the first arc, I'll read it then. But right now, I'm holding out because you guys have kind of said it as number 1 is always good and then doesn't land. So I'm gonna hold out.
Well, here's the thing: there's not going to be a second arc. It'll be what, 10 issues, and that'll be it. Like, I don't think they'll arc it out, right?
No, they'll have the split in the middle, like book 1, book 2, and then right after that have the complete series in hardcover for $50 or some shit like that.
It is kind of telling that we've had more to say about 90s MTV than the actual book itself, though. So.
Rockin' Jock Baseball is on YouTube, by the way. I'm gonna.
Fuck yeah!
If we keep talking about this fucking book, I'm gonna watch this instead. So.
And I understand because me and Eric are basically. Okay, it's like Nick and Greg come to me and Eric, we're all having beers and they both are like going through relationship problems. And there's been some like, verbal abuse and shit like that. And we're just like, you know what? One more chance. Maybe you should give them one more chance.
Let me twice.
But I am telling you this. I don't care what y'all think about Department of Truth. That book slaps and it has nothing to do with James and everything to do with Martin. So
that's true.
But James is doing some fun stuff there too. I don't know. We'll see what happens. All right. Fuck, I think we got room for a 3rd round. What do y'all think?
Yeah, probably.
I'm here.
All right.
I got to figure out which book it is, though. All right. Well,
the Real World adaptation from Boom Studios coming up soon, written by Jason Aaron with artwork.
If anyone's going to do it, it's going to be Dynamite or Mad Cave.
Do not put the idea in Dynamite's head, bro. They will fucking do it.
They're snatching up all the licenses.
They're snatching up all the yeah, for sure.
Nick's waiting for the Silent Library comic book to come out.
The Silent Library? What is that?
What's that?
You guys never watched that on MTV?
That's not familiar with that one.
Or maybe it was VH1. I don't know. But
it's two very different experiences.
Who's got the license for Behind the Music? That's what I want.
It's where they prank each other. They prank each other in a library and they have to like not laugh if it gets above there's like a noise meter. Someone help me in the chat. You've got to have seen it. I can't be the only. But
sounds like a great premise, though.
Yeah,
I watched the majority of TRL in the fucking late '90s and early 2000s, but I've never heard of that one. Silent Library.
Oh yeah, TRL was like a get home from school. You're gonna watch that show.
Yeah. And I don't know why either, because I would always be like, me and my friends would be like, these fucking videos suck.
Yeah, Korn's back at #1. Yes, like that was my experience.
Just waiting for that Todd McFarlane music video. That's why.
4 seasons. It was 4 seasons on MTV.
Yeah, who's got the pop-up video fucking license? That's what I
VH1.
want to know.
I need to bring that back. That was so good.
It was so good.
I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Let's talk about this book, it shoots out a bunch of like one shots, and every time it comes out, I absolutely love it. And let's bring it up now. Keanu Reeves, Jason Aaron, we have LaRocca and Low Ridge on Berserker, Face Full of Bullets. This is a one shot from Boom Studios, and I think my obsession with Berserker right now is like it's the same reason why I like Conan so much. It's a hero's journey. It's an unstoppable force. It's episodic, more so in Berserker, but there are these different themes. You take this character and you put him in any time in history, and he's like an extremely interesting character. And I love the interactions with just like the normal people that are going around. This issue right here, he's essentially a cowboy. It's like the 1800s, whatever it might be. And he is just happens to stumble across this woman who's escaped from like her controlling father, who's like into some shady shit. She's marrying the guy that she loves. Father sends a bunch of bandits after them to stop this marriage, murders the husband to be. And then she goes on this revenge mission using his skills and talents to do so. And he tries to teach her like this redemptive arc. Like, hey, even if you get your revenge, you're not going to feel better. It's not going to bring your husband back. Secretly, though, Berserker Man, he's been through everything. He's been through every stage of grief. He's been through every experience. And he basically fulfills her revenge for her without her even knowing, hopefully teaching her a lesson, making her grow as a person. And we get that in here too. So I love all that. I love the dynamic. But yeah, Berserker is like a banger every single time it comes out.
I've actually been enjoying the Berserker one-shots, right? Like when the series was over and we find out that they're going to be going back to the world of Berserker, I'm just like, this is like John Wick shit. Like, you just killed this motherfucker. How are you going to do it again? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But being able, like, it's baked into the story that we can, this dude's been around for a long time. So I love these one-shot stories. Now, they've all been anchored by brilliant artwork. We had the Atlantis story. I don't remember who did. Matson Tomlin, I think, may have done the art in that one.
I remember that.
I could be wrong. But then you had Steve Scroce do the Poetry of Madness or whatever that one was. Oh, and I just love that dude's art, right? Like, just love that dude's art since I first saw it, like back in the early 90s. He did a Gambit series, and I typically hate Gambit, but Blade was in an issue. And so I still have that issue, and the Steve Scroce artwork is absolutely amazing. This one, Jason Aaron doing Berserker in an Old West scenario, I was down for, but then they give me Salvador LaRocca. Get the fuck out of here. You talking about bland ass, stagnant, stiff fucking Salvador LaRocca? I hated
him though, right?
The fuck. It was Salvador LaRocca.
No, LaRocca and Low Ridge were on this one. Yeah. LaRocca was, yep.
Oh,
I hated.
I didn't know it was him.
How could you not tell? It's so everybody's
I said
like,
it was LaRocca Light. I totally didn't even realize it was him. I'm like, this is just like Salvador LaRocca.
It really is. And just to me, like, his art is so stiff. And that was the hindrance to me on this book. So, and I did think the story was a little bit too, I mean, we talk about tropes and shit, but man, that book was cliche as fuck as far as an Old West story. Like, woman comes up to get the lone rider to help her out, and then she like betrays him and all. And like I don't know, it was all right. It was all right.
I think the lore of him extending all the way through the West, and she knows who this person is, and so does every bandit too. Like, helps that. Like, it is the lone gun. It is the, the unstoppable guy that can draw, right? Like, it's still that thing. Yeah.
But if it was somebody like Matteo Scalera who did the art in this, that would
it would have been. It would, for sure. It is.
I hate Salvador LaRocca for some reason.
It is stiff. I think the colors are even a little. They match the blandness of the art, I would say,
dude. And so, like, one time I remember that this. Okay, so I don't like Salvador LaRocca's artwork. I don't hate him as a person, but I don't know if I necessarily like him because I think it was Rochelle Rosenberg was coloring him on an X-Men book. And he publicly came out and talked about how shitty her coloring was, and she didn't know how to color his line work and this and that or something like that. And I was like, bruh, I know. So what I'm saying is, like, he pays attention to who his colorist is, so he fucking picks shitty ass colorists too. Anyway,
yeah.
You got thoughts, Eric, about LaRocca Light?
I'm looking for my issue because damn it, he's on the cover. He's right there. I'm like, I refuse to believe this is Salvador. You know what it is? It's because he didn't draw himself into the book, so I didn't realize, and nobody's head was this big, so I was like, that couldn't be him. I really loved the issue, though. I thought that it took the Berserker story and kind of distilled it down to one issue's worth of stuff so effectively. Like it told you everything you needed to know without some of the really weird sci-fi concepts that the original series had. So I kind of loved it for that. And yeah, man, I don't know. I love LaRocca's artwork in this, and I'm not a huge fan of his. Jason Aaron, though, I thought that this was the best single issue that he has written since the Punisher series that he did.
What?
I think that this. Oh yeah,
You're out of your
what has
mind.
he written?
Have you read Once Upon a Time at the End of the World at all? His final issue of that was one of the best things he's ever done.
That was
So good.
that was pretty good.
Okay. I skipped over that. So
It was the best one shot he's done since Punisher.
Okay. So he said one other thing between the two, and you guys were like, "What? Oh my
It's the
God,
best.
he's done such fantastic things."
It's the best Aaron collaboration with Keanu Reeves we've ever gotten.
There we go. I love that. Listen,
Okay.
Keanu Reeves wasn't in prison at all, so I appreciated that in this month worth of books from Jason Aaron. So
Well, you didn't like Raphael and Oz? You didn't like that?
Raph is in prison. Namor's in
Namor's
prison.
in
Who else is
prison. Everybody's in prison.
I hated that Namor book, though. I really did, man.
Yeah,
Go ahead and take that out of the rotation.
Yeah, it's not going to be in my rotation.
There we go.
I'm a sucker for a Western, though. The older I get,
So
the
up
more
next,
the older I get, though, the more old man I get. I just like, give me a crime book, give me a Western book. I'm going to be a happy camper. So I loved every single thing about this issue.
And the beautiful story in this issue here, though, is what I like is like he's so seasoned that when he finds this girl, he finds how corrupt she's about to become if she goes down this path, that he lies to her to put her on a different path, and she becomes like a freaking nurse or something like that, and like helps out wounded soldiers or whatever it was that she turned into at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But it was all based on a lie that he told her to begin with. Like, no, your father's fine. He's out. I told him never to bug you again. You'll never see him again. And she doesn't. And there's a reason. But like she believes that lie, completely changes her life and goes in another direction because he knows that if she goes down this path, she'll never stop like me. And I thought that was a beautiful message.
You're right.
So
that
that
is a
worked.
good moment. That is a good moment.
Yeah.
But Salvador Larroca cannot draw brutal violence the way that Ron Garney or Steve Scrosi or any of those guys can. You know, and I'm just.
No, well, that's just facts. Yeah.
Everybody looks like this in his books.
Well, I'll take a snapshot so we can get LaRocca to draw.
no, he's doing a bit this time.
No, that was a bit. I thought I was trying to get you guys thought.
That's you right there. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. He's better than Greg Land. I'll give him that. What about you, Bearded? Did you read this one?
I sound like a broken record. I swear I read comics, gang, but listen,
He just doesn't read Salvador Larroca comics.
And I saw someone in the chat mention EC Tales art. I don't care what you say though. Phil Hester, seeing him draw a book, I'll read anything Phil Hester.
He was the highlight of that artistically for
Yes.
sure.
Dude, Jorge Fornes was in that.
Yeah, but it was not dynamic, was it?
Phil
I thought
Hester,
it was
bro.
dynamic. I thought I'm going to trigger some people that I'm picking this book next. You watch me.
Don't do it.
It's your pick.
All right, Eric, what's your pick?
Well, we got to talk about. We'll talk about Spider-Man Reign #1, so we don't give Nick a heart
Fucking
attack.
heart attack.
Oh, dude, this was such a fun, exciting Big 2 book. I think is this the first Big 2 book that we've talked about?
I brought up Hellblazer, but yeah.
Yeah, Hellblazer's not.
I brought up
it
Nice
kind of
House
is.
by the Sea.
Yeah.
That's DC adjacent.
All right, so Big Herm better still be in the chat here. Spider-Man, we're talking Spider-Man Reign 2 #1. I didn't think we needed to revisit this world. You know, I thought that Spider-Man Reign got way too much hate for some of the things that happened to it in the original storyline. I didn't think it was warranted. I get it. It's hokey, it's cheesy, but we're talking about a world where a guy was bitten by a spider and gains radioactive powers. So like, get over it.
Spoiler.
This book though totally retrained my brain. I was like, no, you know what? I do want to spend time in this world. I do want to find out more of what's going on here. And Kari Andrews, man, his artwork is I thought that he did a really good job of not aping Frank Miller, but emulating kind of like some of his panel work and his style in the first series. And this one, I feel like he's kind of ramped it up where maybe he had a story to tell about the 80s with the first series. I feel like this is a story to tell maybe a little bit more about the 90s. So he's more emulating Todd McFarlane, right? Mark Bagley kind of Spider-Man work. It was just super fun. Like, I loved everything about it. I like that they're laying out little bits of mysteries that aren't really mysteries. Like, come on, like, we all know that's Felicia Hardy's daughter, but like, I don't know. I love all the little bits and pieces that they're playing with in the Spider-Man world and the greater story that they've already developed, right? Because they did all this world building already. So I don't know. Like, as far as big 2 books, looking through my stack, that's like, it's slim pickings. This is like one of the only ones that are out there, and I think it was definitely worthwhile amongst like the best books of this month.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it. I love Spider-Man Reign. I read it like full on for the first time, like right before Spider-Man Reign 2 came out, right? And
wow.
I was like blown away, right? And like, because I remember when it first came out, I remember like reading the first issue, maybe I even read the first 2, but like then I quit reading it, and I didn't really have much of a recollection. I just remember that Mary Jane died because of radioactive jizz, right? That's basically, I mean, that's what I remember. That's everybody talks about the book, you know? And of course, the very obvious Dark Knight Returns parallels, a big tribute to Frank and Klaus and Lynn's work on that book, right? I like that you were mentioning that he's taken it further a little bit into the 90s, and you're right, maybe even into the 2000s, because there's more like widescreen panels in this one, right?
Yes, exactly.
Stuff like that, right? Yeah. And his artwork is so crazy. I love his work. I even love that Amazing Fantasy run he did like just a couple years ago, where like Spider-Man, Black Panther or Black Widow and Captain America wind up in like another reality or something like that. I love his work. It is so fucking weird to me that this is happening right now. Like, it's been like almost 20 years since the first one, and it's something that gets talked about but not often, right? And it is a shame, because having now finally read the original and reading the first issue of the sequel, this is the one thing that I always accuse Marvel of not doing. Perennial books that will stand the test of time, that you can read with no connection to anything. You can just pick it up. And you know how much I hate it when someone says, this will be the Dark Knight return of whatever character, mostly Wonder Woman, but that's the shit that really bothers me. But the comparison is very true here, because it is like a direct tribute. I mean, it is even structurally, the original is even structurally the Dark Knight Returns, right? Like it's, and it's, I loved this. Now, I'm trying to remember now, because it's been a while. I've read a lot of comics since. This was Kingpin centric, right?
Yep, exactly.
Yes, Kingpin centric, because the first one is all Venom centric. This one is
running the Matrix right now.
Yeah, that's right. And they're all, and they got the shield came up and all that.
And the bubble, the rest of the world's destroyed. They're in their bubble.
Absolutely great book. That's a great pick. And it was definitely, I think, Marvel's best book of the month for sure. Yeah, that's a good one. What about you, Bearded? Bruh, are you serious?
You're
Do we need to send you a list before, like 2 weeks before we do the show next time?
No, I think what y'all need to do is you just need to make a list of all the books you talked about and hyped up this week that I didn't read, and let the chat vote which ones I should read.
All right.
I didn't read this.
Sounds good. All right, that's fine. You should read the original.
Okay.
And let us know what you think about it, for sure. I would recommend the original for certain. Like, in fact, before you read Nice House by the Sea, you should read Spider-Man Reign.
Like, I did read comics, gang. I did read comics.
Those are all Dick Tracy comics and variants.
From Mad Cave.
By the way, I remember what I was going to say earlier.
One?
Somebody said, I think it was Nick, and said, yeah, Dick Tracy is grounded and violent, but it's not like Frank Miller Dick Tracy. Bro, I would read the fuck out of Frank Miller's Dick Tracy. That would be amazing, especially if we got
that. It's Sin City, but cranked up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. We already did get that.
Yeah, you can go watch The Spirit. He directed that one. It's essentially the same thing.
I don't ever need to watch that again, ever.
Yeah.
But there's one great moment in that movie, and that's when Samuel L. Jackson goes, I'm the octopus. I got 8 of everything. And he goes,
oh, shit.
I don't know, man.
The Octadick. Got it. Yeah.
All right. Nick, Spider-Man Reign 2.
Never read the first volume. This is my first, introduction to the series. It was trippier and shit, man. I was like, okay, so Peter's an old dude. He's in the Matrix right now. Kingpin is some like ugly giant like thing out of Hard Boiled, and you know, I didn't understand what was going on in the world. It was just like a crazy head trip, but I had a great time reading it. It was action packed. The art's amazing. The coloring is great. Yeah, I loved it. It was definitely a book where I was like, okay, now I got to go back and read the original run, right? Because I'm losing so much context and it's only going to enrich the story in theory. So I dug it too. It was on my list for sure. At least honorable mentions, and it's got me interested in the first volume. So
yeah, you need to check that out for certain. Like 100%. I mean, it's so Miller and Jansen. There's a character in it named Miller Jansen.
Yeah.
Right. And I love
on
it.
The nose. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of the news reporters, right? Because they do that whole
perfect.
In all the news bubbles and all that. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
But way better than Spawn does it. Oh my God. Every time I read a Spawn issue and it's one of those pages, I just skip them now. Like, it's so fucking it's pointless.
That's what I do with Tom King's narration in between the actual dialogue. I just skip all that now.
That's what I used to do on your fucking beloved Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I've been telling you.
Yeah.
The only time it works in Helen, but it works in Wonder Woman too.
It works in Wonder Woman.
I can admit it. Carrie's not here. Wonder Woman's really good. That last issue blew though. That last issue sucked.
That was
the tie-ins are so hard though.
The tie-ins,
yeah. It's awful.
I know. I would hate to be like, but I'm telling this 12-issue story. Are you fucking serious? Do I have to do this? Like, I don't understand. They're like, who cares? We're going to collect your whole thing all together, right? That's what they're going to do. They're going to skip the Absolute Power. There's going to be like an Absolute Power Wonder Woman thing separate or whatever. But Absolute Power tie-ins have been, for the most part, good, except for that one, in my opinion. What about you, Greg? What's your next pick? Wonder Woman?
I gotta take out Wonder Woman tie-in, so because I did read that, and now I'm kind of like,
all the books,
all the books to read. You know what? I'm gonna do this one. I had a lot of fun with it, so I'm doing Barfly from Dark Horse. It's, if you're not familiar, is from the world of Minor Threats, which I have been a huge fan of on my show. Always talking about this, but what they did is they took a minor character from that world that didn't have any parts and stuff, and they're like, cool, let's make a series about them. And it's just as a punk rock fly who is a henchman who just kind of fuddles his way through stuff. And I think the artwork by Ryan Brown, I could read anything Ryan Brown draws. It's fantastic. And then you get the clever humor of Kyle Starks. I know it says Patton and Jordan are writing it, but I'm sure it was mostly Kyle and Ryan that did this book from that world. But you get this, you feel for the character because it's one of those, like, he's just trying to make a living, trying to make his way through, and he thinks he's found some people that are, and everyone's just trying to screw him over. So I'm kind of curious to see what they're going to do with this. But in the midst of all these things, I really enjoy just reading something that makes me laugh and go, that's funny. That's funny. And that's what Barfly did for me. So
sweet.
So I am not in on Minor Threats. I think I read the first issue, easily dismissed it, and just moved on. Right. But, sometimes things slip under my radar, and, I admit that it's fine. I didn't even know Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown were doing this book. Like, if this didn't have the Minor Threats title on it and it was Barfly from Dark Horse Comics by Kyle Starks and Ryan Brown, I would have read it. And maybe I should, because do I need to know?
You don't need to know anything about Minor Threats to read it.
Okay. I'm going to do you a solid, Greg, and read it and let you know what I think about it. What about you, Nick? Are you reading that one?
No, I'm not reading Barfly, but I did read Minor Threats. And did they just have, I think I read like 5 issues maybe? I don't know if they've done like a second volume or a second arc or a spin-off.
They just finished their second volume, and they did a spin-off, the alternates, in between that. So there was a whole spin-off arc between it that I think Tim Seeley wrote.
Yeah, that would make sense.
And then volume 2 then just wrapped up issue 4, volume 2.
Okay. So I read the first volume. Yeah. I read whatever volume it was where what was it? Like a hero was murdered.
Yes.
And then all the heroes were on just like a fucking rampage. And they were the Superman analogs were running around ripping bad guys in half. And
that was the first volume.
Okay. And this team was put together, and they were all a bunch of losers, but they tried to do whatever they could do to hide, because there were all the soups are all flying around and stuff. And I think, didn't we meet Barfly in that one? Wasn't he in the restaurant?
He's in, and he's always just a background character.
Right. Okay.
Talk isn't integral. And so that was the whole shtick is people just saw this character that Scott Hepburn just kept drawing in this that never talked, and like he was just always at the bar, and
Gotcha.
they were like, and he kind of became a fan favorite, and everyone's like, let's do that. So
yeah. No, I enjoyed that one enough, but I guess not enough to stick around. There's so much stuff out there. So I'm glad that this one's getting some love though.
What about you, Eric?
It's similar to Real World Season 4. I skipped this one.
Oh, that's one of the best, man. That's the Puck season.
Oh no!
Judd Winnick makes his first comic book appearance in that one.
Are you serious? I'm just messing around. I just threw a random season out.
Did you not know that Judd Winnick was in the Real World?
No, why would I know that? Like
Judd Winnick was in the Real World. Yeah, that's the season isn't season 4 San Francisco? It's the one with Puck. That's the first dude to get kicked out.
Real World is London.
Pedro. What?
Season 4 is London, it says.
Yeah, Robbie.
Which one is San Francisco? 3?
I don't know. I'll look.
Yeah.
Venice Beach was 2.
San
Francisco's 3.
Okay. San Francisco's 3. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry. I take everything back.
Pretty fucking close.
You should watch Real World season 3. That one's really good. The Pedro story is very touching. And anyway, Judd Winnick's in it, which is really neat. And they're like, "Oh, you make comic books? What are those?" It's so funny. And this was at the days where I think he hadn't done Barry Ween yet, and Barry Ween is my favorite Judd Winnick book. I don't know if people are into Judd Winnick as much as I was. Fuck, now I'm thinking of Real World. I had some kind of joke outside of that. Oh, here's the joke. We could all do better on this show. Greg doesn't read any of our books, but we don't read any of his. So we can all do a little bit better.
Even Steven.
But it balances out, right? Because if we all read the same stuff, then we're not getting a wide variety of stuff.
That's true.
We all bringing balance to the force.
That's right.
Oh, I hated saying that. That made me feel like.
And look, the chat appreciates the Barfly. The chat read it, so someone.
The chat likes it. Yeah, I know. That's what the chat's what really sold me on it over you.
I mean, listen.
No, it was you when you said Kyle Starks. I was like, oh, what? Really? I should read that. Okay.
Yeah.
For my next pick, I'll go with Feral, number 5. Feral is banking on the success of Stray Dogs. And they were like, and I think I even had Tony on the channel, and I think he even said this on air. Maybe he said this behind the scenes, but I'll just go ahead and say it anyway. He goes, yeah, we realized that Stray Dogs was so popular, it sucked that it was over after 5 issues. We think we should have kept that going, but there's no way to really go back to that world. And I remember when I met him and Trish for the first time in person at Heroes Con, I was like, so you guys are doing a follow-up, right? And he goes, yeah, this one's about cats. And I was like, even better. Well, it's a zombie story with cats. So many zombie stories out there in TV, comics, movies. There was a time where anything zombie I loved. And we're talking about the 90s and early 2000s. Like when 28 Days Later came out, or the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead, or when Land of the Dead finally came out from George A. Romero. This was a big deal to people like me. And then Walking Dead blew the fuck up, and an oversaturation of zombie fiction hit everybody to the point where, a zombie thing, I'm out. I'm not even going to read it. I'm not even going to watch it. I'm done. You can't do anything new with it. Tone, and Trish aren't necessarily doing anything new with the structure of zombie fiction. But what they are doing is putting cartoon cats in the middle of it, having it be rabies, but it's still a zombie picture. And I don't know. I love cats, and the artwork is beautiful. Trish this time, so back on Stray Dogs, Tone Rodriguez did all the layouts. Trish did all the finished stuff, right? This time, Trish is doing all the cats, her strength, and being able to focus on the emotions and the emoting nature of those cats. And Tone does all the backgrounds. Well, Tone has a very realistic style. Check out Violent Messiahs from Image Comics, late 90s. Check it out if you've never read Violent Messiahs by Tone Rodriguez. A brilliant book. Totally awesome. If you love like Grendel and Spawn, like that kind of stuff, Violent Messiahs is a book for you. And then Trish has this very cartoony Don Bluth type style, right? But because Tone is able to make these realistic backgrounds, and everything that's not a cat in this book looks realistically drawn. And then you have these bright colored, flat colored and bright, flat colored and thick lined cats animated style, it does feel like a Don Bluth movie. It feels like a 70s Disney movie. Those backgrounds and those foregrounds work so well to give you that effect. And then in issue number 5, if you are familiar with zombie fiction, you know that they're going to get you to like certain characters, set up certain interactions, and then randomly kill one of them off, right? Well, they do that in issue number 5. And yeah, this is going to happen in these books, but it's how you execute it. And if you execute it the right way, you shock the reader or the viewer, right? Whether it's, movies, TV, or comics or novels or something. When the dude who gets got in this movie, or in this issue, I was fucking shocked. I was blown away. My jaw dropped to the floor. My heart was fucking broke. Plus they're cartoon cats. I don't want to see cartoon cats die, but it worked and it was so effective. And just the artwork I loved Stray Dogs. I think this is levels above Stray Dogs. In particular, the artwork definitely is. They really figured out how to work this out. And I think it's just such a great book. I adore it. I adore it. It's more than just the worth of the variant covers that I love because they're horror movie homages, right? It is such, I'm invested in this book. Yeah, dude, the Zack Snyder Dawn of the Dead one, right? This is what, dude, I don't buy incentives. I had to get the Day of the Dead 1 in 50 incentive. There are people at my shop clamoring for that. I was like, sorry, somebody already requested that one. Who?
Yeah. Oh, that jerk.
I don't know who. But I love it. It always sells out at my shop, and I should always order heavier on this because this book is really gripping me. What do you think, Nick? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think the art's my favorite part about that. So I echo everything you said about the art and the flat colors and the line work and how it stands out compared to Stray Dogs. So that whole process that they've developed now has clearly matured into something really special. And I think I have the same problem with Farrell as I do with Dick Tracy in the fact that I kind of like the type of story that they're trying to tell right now as a reader. I know in Dick Tracy that those characters are supposed to be a little bit more animated than normal, yet grounded, but a little bit more animated. And this one, it's as a reader, I know all the pitfalls you're going to have, that you're going to experience in this story that these characters don't know as cats and dogs, right? So it's I know that one of you is going to turn. I know that this is what it is, and you don't know what it is yet. And you're going to learn what it is, and you should not trust the outsiders and stuff like that. And so, as a reader, I'm kind of frustrated with those moments, but I have to understand, no, that's not the perspective I need to be taking with this. And so, I didn't read this issue because we just didn't have any copies at the shop. And so, after I reviewed my books, I had multiple comments why aren't you reading Farrell? I'm damn it, good point. I read the last issue, so I need to get caught up on this one right here. And I keep hearing that this is the best issue of the series so far. And so I'm
and I believe it's the end of it's the end of arc 1. I think
makes sense.
I think it might be,
sure.
But it's one of them gets got. But yeah, it's all the tropes. Somebody's going to get bit and they're going to hide it. You know what I'm saying? And then the person who everybody depends on is going to get got at some point, or your main character may even, have to go through some stuff. But man, it really, I don't know, man. Just them being cartoon cats just really makes me feel for them, bro. I'm just these poor cats, man.
I get for sure. Yeah, I gave up on it a little too quick, and it was last issue, and I wasn't too excited. But now I'm hearing this one's great, so I'm God damn it, yeah, I had a good time. So I'll go back and read it.
Yeah, and the cool thing is it's ongoing, and that means we get lots more horror homage covers. What about you, Eric? Thoughts on Farrell?
Dude, in a world where we have multiple series ongoing that revolve around household pets, one of them had to just not make the cut, and and this is the one. I was already reading Man's Best. I could not jump on Farrell, but the way you guys are talking about it, if it's an ongoing, I'm sure I'll pick it up once they get to the prison, because I hear that's when things really pick up. But then they'll die.
Yeah, so, you'll see a dog in a tank driving down.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll meet y'all when we get to that point.
I'll tell you this: Man's Best. I love Lonergan's artwork. I always do. Right. But that story just never really super clicked with me. In particular at the ending. It just didn't work. Yeah. You made the wrong decision, Eric. Speaking of bad decisions, what about you, Beard? Did you get thoughts on Farrell?
Guys, I read a book.
Oh, yay.
I read a comic book that Robbie talked about. No, I mean, everything that you said, the art's great. And you know, I said just to Ed in the chat, I don't think it's getting the same love as Stray Dogs, because I do think there is an oversaturation of animal as the main characters in comics that we didn't have. All right, you got Man's Best, you have Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. So there's a lot more that I think that was out there then.
When you have a hit, everybody starts aping it. You know
Right.
what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended.
And they got to, well, just wait till the third volume. They do apes with something in horror, and that'll be great.
I can't wait till they redo Planet of the Apes, but with like frogs. But it's still called Planet of the Apes, and they're just frogs dressed up as apes. That was a bad joke. I'm so sorry, Greg. I'm stepping all over. You actually read a book. Let's hear your thoughts.
I liked it. I think this was a strong one. You know, again, the art that what they're Trish and them are, you know, Tone are doing, it really does feel like you're reading a movie, which is weird to say, because it looks like animation stills, right? Like it looks like the old school. They put the paper over top, and so like that's beautiful. And I mean, there's I'm not a cat person. I'm just gonna be honest, and like that I actually care about these cats is impressive, because there are some cats where I'm like, ooh, you're a little punk. Like I hope you die, and there's other one like, oh, don't.
Oh,
like,
hot
no.
take.
Jeez.
Right? Listen, you tell me you don't watch a movie and go, oh, I hope that character bites it. Like, you know, you do.
Never the animal, though.
So
Yeah, never the animal.
Yeah.
even if it's all animals as characters.
I mean,
Like,
Jaws
never
is an
happened.
animal.
I'm not talking like Independence Day where everyone's like, oh, I hope the dog makes it in the tunnel here. Like, and everyone's
No,
happy.
I mean, I didn't
What
want
a great
Scar to
moment that
die.
was.
I didn't want Scar to die, man.
Millions of people died there, but no, they're like, they worried about the dog in the tunnel. And so you're telling me now, like, does that change? Does that
The
change
dog was
though,
a good boy.
when they're all animals? That's the question.
It's why I like Quiet
True.
Place Day 1 so much, because I was really fucking worried about that cat. Like really fucking worried. Spoilers, the cat's fine. In fact, that's the most unrealistic thing about the movie, is not the crazy aliens that come from the sky, but the fact that this cat never put these people in danger by doing anything fucking crazy. Like, the cat can't make noise. How's the cat not
No.
make fucking noise?
Yeah.
Like,
2 a.m. That shit is going nuts.
I live
all
with
the
two
time.
fucking cats. That's
Yeah.
impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah. At night, they're all over the place.
But no, it's a great book. I think I'll read anything this team's putting together. I'm a big fan of everything they're working on.
Absolutely. Tony's killing it right now. In fact, the day that Feral came out, it was Feral, Uncanny Valley, Local Man, and Army of Darkness Forever all came out on the same day on his fucking birthday.
Oh, wow.
And he got the pick of the week. Not because it was his birthday, but because Feral made me fucking so sad that a cat had died. So sad. And like, and the thing is, take the cats. They're humans. Even if they were humans, the way it was done was so fucking effective. Like, it's like even the best moments of that shitty ass comic called The Walking Dead, you may have heard of it, but even the best moments, I'm just joking. It's like, I'm hot take, Walking Dead sucks. It kind of does, right? It just repeats the same fucking story over and over again. I don't think Feral's going to do that. I saw the comment from Ed. Do you think that it's going to have a running like length as Walking Dead did? No. This book doesn't need. The book's not going to go 100 and something issues, but it will go probably like 20 to 30, and I'm all here for it, like 100%. I'm all in. I am Feral all in. So there you go.
Are you
That was
feral for feral?
I have. Ooh, that's a good one. I should have done that instead of making that weird allusion to DC all in that nobody else got. All right, time for rapid fire. Nick, why don't you kick us off?
You know, whenever Fantagraphics puts out a book in single issue format, I always pick it up. Peep Show issue number, what is this? 15. Joe Matz, really tragic story behind this one. Great book, slice of life story, talking about his past relationships in a really like self-degrading kind of a way. Joe Matz actually passed away at the drawing table while creating this issue. Family and friends picked it up, finished it out for him. Fantagraphics was kind enough to put it out. So really, really cool thing. He's been drawing and creating comics since the 80s. And Peep Show is the first book I've read from the series and this creator. And then I did some research on him. I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe that happened. So that was really sad, but I'm glad that his last issue saw the light of day there. So that was really cool. Wanted to showcase that one. You know what? I'm looking over here and there's a lot of great books we haven't talked about yet. So that's pretty cool. But let's go to Batman Dark Age book number 4. Mark Russell on this one. All Reds are on here. Spectacular book. This one's introducing our Robin. And, we're going through that whole thing. And I just love taking a familiar theme, obviously hitting that shuffle button, getting different origin stories, different experiences, same characters. Really, really great job. He's doing a hell of a job with that one. One book I'm it's growing on me. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm having a good time. Is Zatanna Bringing Down the House? Issue number 2, Black Label book. I love this one. This was pretty cool. The colors are amazing. The art's really crazy. And it's a Black Label book. We're playing with Zatanna's origin. We're elaborating more on her relationship with her father, the power that he had, the accident that she caused in the early stages of her life, trying to learn magic, and the repercussions of that. Now she's being pulled back into the magical world. That was a really cool book, Black Label, sleeper book of the month, probably. And what else do we want to talk about? Let's talk about Falling in Love in the Path to Hell. I like this one too. It's just, it reminds me of Conan, it reminds me of Berserker. These are like the best of the best people in culture coming together, taking on impossible odds. This is going to be a slow burn love story. Can't wait to, dive into that a little bit more and see how that's even possible. And I'll cut it right there. There's a few more books I want to go over, but I'm sure you guys are going to bring them up. So that's the rapid fire this week.
All right. What about you, Eric? Rapid fire.
All right, we're gonna start with Sacrificers. I think that this is the most remender book for quite a while, maybe since Deadly Class, in fact. I love the way this issue talks about hypocrisy, the hypocrisy of society, and specifically the hypocrisy that we see with religion. Beautiful way that they're looking at the God, the juxtaposition between the God and Pigeon, and kind of the journey that they're taking. Love this issue.
That's cool.
What did you real quick? I'm sorry. Yeah. What did you think about Arajo's artwork on that one? Like switching the artist. How did you feel about that?
It wasn't jarring, right? And I think that speaks volumes because like we got really fantastic artwork from Lynn's previously, or not Lynn's. Who was it? Fiumara. Yeah. And it was. I think it was the right place if you were going to make that change because Fiumara needed a break apparently, right? So like they snuck it in there, and I thought it was really good. And not only that, but to then realize that it was the same artist on Righteous Thirst for Vengeance, which has totally different look and feel to it. Oh yeah, that was mind blowing to me. So like, bravo, kudos. I think they did fantastic.
Agreed.
All right, next book. The best big 2 book that is out right now, which is Rook Exodus. It's the most comic booky comic right now. If you want to be excited about a comic book and you want that action adventure fun that you get from a big 2 book or that you should be getting, do yourself a favor. Pick up Rook Exodus. This is so fun. The series tricked me off the top. I was just like, this is like a Power Ranger-y kind of thing. You got helmets that make you talk to animals. Like, that's so stupid. It's not. It's not, and it's shocking that it's not because it's so good, and I'm so invested in these characters. And this issue leaves you on a cliffhanger that is so exciting. Yeah, exactly. I can't believe this didn't actually come up from anybody. The culmination of the 2 series that are one. This is the last issue of the 6 Fingers. The way that this reconceptualizes the entirety of both books and the way that it looks back at all the events that have happened, and Greg read it, and that tells you right there that this is quality amongst all of the books that we've picked so far. Dan Waters doing fantastic work. Looking back, I do think I enjoyed the One Hand a little bit better, but I do think that's it's a more enriching experience if you read both of them. I can't wait. I'm gonna do a reread on all of these, kind of compact and combined. It's gonna be really fun. And because I want to trigger some people, yeah, we are going to talk about this because, man, this was freaking worthwhile. This was a fantastic book. I loved the way that it made me feel the same way. Ooh, my mic's in the way. The same way that it made me feel when I watched Tales from the Crypt back in the day when I probably shouldn't have been watching Tales from the Crypt. And the way that it takes topical things, right? Because Tales from the Crypt did this. EC Comic Books did this in the past. They will take topical things that are happening in the world, in society, right here, right now. And are they comfortable? No. And do you agree with them? No, you don't need to. But they're happening, and they're kind of poking at those things, and they're making you feel uncomfortable. Guess what? It's a horror book. You're supposed to be uncomfortable by a horror book. Jorge Fornia's artwork, awesome. Phil Hester's artwork, fantastic. I loved that issue.
All right. Nice. Okay. Beast's lab rat. As in regards to your Monica comment here, I would recommend rereading it. I would also recommend knowing that it's a big tribute to like EC Comics, right? So everything is kind of like a tribute to an EC comic, and everything is connected in some kind of way or another to the overall story, including like the cult and all that kind of stuff. Like even if it's just thematic, it does. I mean, I read it again.
It's a multiple read book.
Yeah,
that's a whole
absolutely.
show right there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a whole show. When are we going to do that? Breaking down Monica.
I feel like this panel could actually do an entire show breaking down.
That would take some time, but we could do it.
We might be able to do that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we could. These us four.
All right.
Nobody else. Just us four. Nobody else.
We're doing a top down. Let's do it.
Stu's not able to handle something like Monica with the us four sexy motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? Greg, rapid fire. What you got?
Well, let's keep the Rick Remender train going. Gromit's still loving this series. Just came out today, so I didn't want to talk, or Wednesday, so I didn't want to talk about it if you didn't. But Brett Parsons' artwork is fantastic. I want to go back and find anything that Brett Parsons. I just love that it's a slice of life book that is not like we're not getting this weird twist. Like, you know, you get that all the time. It's just like these are kids in the 80s in San Francisco skateboard life, and I'm like, I'm here for it. Like, and I think it's a perfect amount of like, give me 7 issues of it. Do I talk? Robbie said he's gonna. I don't know. Flash Gordon, number 1. It's such a good nostalgia train. I didn't know much about Flash Gordon. Issue 0, I was on when Joe talked about it. Came out.
Mm-hmm.
I think you need to read issue 0 to have some framework, because there is some stuff here that like because I'm not a huge Flash Gordon, some of the things that don't hit as much for me because I don't have that background. But I think this was a great issue. Again, Will Conrad's art is great. And then we'll do this. Public Domain is back. I couldn't be happier that it's back. I love the first arc that they did. Just getting I love those kind of behind the scenes of comic book movie world, right? Like it's Hey Kids Comics. Like Public Domain. I'm a sucker for anything that kind of is a look into the industry. I will say this. It's not my favorite series, but there was a panel in here that made me pull a Robbie and basically cry. And so if you're reading Batman Robin, you know, it does a little flashback to something that Tom King did. And I'm just like, oh man, it hit me in the feels. So that's what I'll do. I'll leave the rest for later.
Juan's artwork in that one was so amazing. Like I was so happy to see him on that book. What was the one you mentioned right before that one?
Public Domain.
Public Domain. Did you read The Domain?
I did read The Domain. That was a fun like.
That was a really cool thing that they did, right? The book that they're creating, they actually publish as well. I think that's pretty cool.
Because you have all these, like, you're reading that first issue 6 or whatever the Public Domain is, and they're talking about all these things that they're trying to struggle with and figure out as a creative team, and then you're seeing that then put down on paper. It was cool. Like, I don't know if I would love like The Domain as a book by itself, but because of the background of what it is, I'm going to check it out because it's such a cool, like, I feel like it's an extra layer to something that we don't get very often in comics.
Yeah, you're right though. If it was just on its own, I would have been like, like Fear Agents or some shit like that. Or was it Free Agents? Free Agents didn't really work for me. For my rapid fire, Holy Roller number 7. Holy shit, this movie's really good. Like, I mean, this
Rick
book is
Remender.
really good.
We're on the Rick Remender.
It's Rick Remender. It's Andy Samberg. Like
Samberg, yeah.
I'm loving it. Like it's so stupid, the idea behind it, you know. But I love it, you know. And it's like I love Mystery Men, you know. And this is like taking one of those characters to the nth level, not directly, but you know. Anyway, Savage Dragon 271. Is anybody reading this crazy ass?
I read the last one. Yeah.
It's fucking crazy. This book is just wild. Transformers number 10, because I gotta mention it. Plus, the Eisners did another thing, right? They gave Best Writer Artist to Daniel Warren Johnson and Best Ongoing Series to Transformers. Yeah. So that's cool. Ultimates number 2. Our boy Dennis Camp just tearing it up. I'm loving the Ultimates. I love it, love it, love it. Geiger number 4. Yeah. It's like the John Wick of Geiger. You do not fuck with this dude's dog. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm loving Geiger. I have always loved it. And I don't think that any of the Ghost Machine has still hit the level of nuance and form and emotion that Junkyard Joe did. But Geiger is the one that comes the closest to me. A shout out to the
Joe figure. Did you see that? Are you getting the Junkyard Joe figure?
If I can, yes.
So good.
I've been clamoring for action figures for Geiger and Junkyard Joe and all that shit. Now I'm like, oh, fuck, man.
And then they go with the expensive company.
I didn't really mean it. They're going to be a glow in the dark exclusive Geiger too. That's going to be too hard to fucking find. It's going to be like, oh, it's going to be dumb. Also, a big shout out to Redcoat because I wasn't really vibing with Redcoat, but I really liked the last issue.
Yes. Yeah, it's really
thought
good.
that was good. Destro #2.
Yeah,
You're talking about Dan Waters, who, by the way, completely killed the ending of Six Fingers in the One Hand. I love that ending, and it like that story is going to read different when we sit down and reread them. You know what I'm saying? That's going to read way different knowing that, because I remember even Damien, we got to get Damien back on the show. I remember him talking about early on, he was like, I don't know if I'm really into this. I don't know why it has to be set in the future. And I've heard other people say that, right?
I think we all said
there's
that,
a reason. Yeah. There's a very much a reason for that, right? And you find out by the end of it, and it's just amazing. Dark Knights of Steel, All Winter #1 really surprised me. Really surprised me, right? I was not anticipating that book being good. I was like, oh, Tom Taylor's not even doing it? Cash grab, who cares? No, I loved it. And I love that black and white like approach to the artwork and the focus in on Deathstroke. Paranoid Gardens #1. It's a new book from Gerard Way and Sean Simon. Gerard Way does a book I pay attention to. It had a die cut cover. I have no clue what the fuck is going on in this book, but I really did like it. So there you go. Powerpuff Girls #1. Kelly Thompson. Let's spread that love a little bit further. If you're a fan of Powerpuff Girls, you're going to like this comic because it's exactly Powerpuff Girls. And I am a fan of Powerpuff Girls. Uncanny Valley #4. Tony Fleece doing another great job playing with the real world and cartoons and just so much fun. And I love that he's using like the spooky skeletons and the pumpkin head dude and their version of Wile E. Coyote for the villains. And it's like a Maleficent type villain that gets revealed at there. And it's so good. Blood Squad 7, #3. I'm going to keep talking about this book because people need to read it, because Joe Casey is doing what he did for Wildcats. He's now doing with Youngblood, but he's doing it in a different way because Youngblood's a different book than Wildcats, right? And it's easy way I've been pitching it at my shop or here on the channel is, if you like The Boys, read it. I'm not saying it is The Boys, but it has certain elements that people that like The Boys would like in this book, but also like really taking that Youngblood concept and actually fucking doing something with it. That's really interesting to me. Hate Revisited #2. Peter Bagg going back to revisit the lives of the cast of Hate, showing us scenes that we've never seen before, and then having a mystery about what happened to certain characters like Stinky, and then talking about him. And they revealed the death of Stinky, and you're just like, that was it?
You're like, damn, dude. It's pretty messed up.
They fucking bury the body. Oh my God, it's so great.
In the backyard for years.
I know.
They relocated it. Yeah.
Ultimate Spider-Man #7. I do think Marco Cicchetto's artwork was a bit rushed feeling in this one, but I do really like how they're introducing the concept of the AI into the Stark armor being what will be the cause of Harry turning, right? Like the voice of Norman in his head. It's also, I don't know, it's kind of dumb that Spider-Man chooses his own voice, you know, but it's also kind of funny, but
it's on brand.
Anyway,
you know.
It is on brand. Yeah. Department of Truth 24. There's a great double-page spread in there of Uncle Sam when they're talking about America. It's great, but what they're doing is they're building up into their reveal of what the events of the Kennedy assassination were, and it's way more intricate and detailed and complex than I thought it would be, because we're really digging into Lee Harvey Oswald's like story right now, but it works so well for me. And finally, I do got to give a minor shout out to Blood Hunt #5, because I really do think they did a great thing with their ending. And spoilers, Dr. Doom saves the day, becomes the Sorcerer Supreme, doesn't give it up, and is now going to use that power to save the world. And that's going to be the next year of Marvel stories, and I'm ready for that. What I'm not ready for is Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. So join us for that conversation in just a few minutes over at Blame Fable and his amazing friends over at One Collection Down. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. What about you, Nick? What you got coming up?
Just normal stuff. Weekly review videos on Saturday nights and haul videos and Cadets new release videos. We've been doing, Eric's been joining me with Stu, a series of interviews as well. So we have a few under our belt now. The last one was Tony McMillan, great creator of Attaboy. We met him over at Heroes Con. We've been conversing with him. He had a Kickstarter that just ended a couple of days ago for Serious Creatures 2. And we had a great conversation with him, and just wanted to let people know that we're kind of getting into that game, and we have a lot of people on the list to talk to as well. So we're super excited about that, and it's been a thrill to actually have these conversations with these talented people. So yeah, that's the main thing right there.
Heck yeah! And by the way, links in the description below to all of these fine gentlemen's channels. Eric, what you got coming up?
As Nick alluded to, we have a lot of things coming down the pipeline here with some awesome conversations with really, really cool people, including the ones that we've already spoke to. But other than that, I got weekly comics that come out every Monday morning here on the pull list. So be on the lookout for that, going over the books that I read and my favorite picks of the week. But that's all for me for right now.
All right. Thank you for being here, Greg. Always a pleasure, my man. I love the Dick Tracy love. I'm glad you got 30 copies of it. What about you? What's coming up for you, man?
As always, every Wednesday I have interviews. So just had one drop last Wednesday with Sweeney Boo, which was a lot of fun. Got a whole bunch in the pipeline that are coming up. So every Wednesday on my channel. And then my wife and I revisited our Name That Character show that we kind of hadn't done for a year because we needed to do 100 episodes. So we dropped that tonight, and it's Mrs. Bearded trying to guess Deadpool and Wolverine cameo characters, and it's always entertaining.
Heck yeah. I hope you looked at her and said, I hope you're ready. And she goes, I don't know who my daddy was, but I bet I shot out of his dick ready.
I just looked at her and said, let's
fucking go. I've seen that movie twice now, and it was just as good the second time, if not better. I think my problem with the first act did not exist in the second time I watched it. Like I really, really enjoyed that movie. For somebody who's most of his life is not like the character Deadpool, I love all three of those movies. It's really weird.
Yeah, they're great.
As far as us, like I said, join us over at Blame Fable and his amazing friends in just a few minutes. I had a conversation with Declan Shalvey earlier today talking about his new Terminator book. His Terminator book sounds great. So y'all need to check out what he's talking about that. We talk about Thundercats. We talk about Moon Knight. We talk about Old Dog. Some really cool conversations from a really cool dude. And August 19th kicks off Horror Fest 2024 with the Paranormal Activity franchise here on PCP Movie Night. Y'all, I have already watched the first one, and I'm proud to report that it held up significantly well. But I've never seen any of the sequels, so they probably suck. But we got over 50 movies across 35 shows, across 3 channels, 3 double features, 2 franchise reviews. It's going to be the bloodiest and most transgressive horror fest of all time. Everybody sub up to these people. If you haven't, go to the cbcawards.org. You only have a few days left to nominate this show once again for best collaboration. We'd really appreciate that. We love you. We're dipping out.